Sarah Mitchell never imagined her evening jog would turn into a fight for survival. But when a white van began silently stalking her through the woods, she uncovered a chilling pattern of attempted abductions no one else had dared to connect. Sarah Mitchell had always believed her small hometown of Elmsworth was one of the safest places on Earth. It was the kind of town where people knew each other's names, where children played outside until dark, and where danger felt like something that only happened far away. At 17, Sarah had fallen into a comfortable routine: school, part-time work at the local library, and her evening jogs through the wooded trail that curved behind her neighborhood. The trail was quiet, surrounded by trees that whispered with the wind, and always gave her peace of mind. She never imagined it would become the scene of something sinister. That October afternoon, the sky was overcast, and a soft wind stirred the fallen leaves on the pavement. Sarah changed into her running gear and tied her shoes, stepping out into the cool evening air with her headphones in her pocket. As she started down the familiar trail, she noticed it was emptier than usual. There were no dog walkers, no other joggers, not even the occasional cyclist that passed through. The quiet should have felt calming, but something about it made her skin prickle. She shook it off and picked up her pace. A few minutes into her run, she passed the old wooden sign marking the halfway point of the trail. It was here, just past a bend, that something caught her attention. Parked slightly off the road and partly hidden behind some trees was a white van. It wasn't unusual for service vehicles to pass through the area, but this one seemed out of place. There were no company logos, no open windows, and no one in sight. Just the van idling quietly. A strange feeling settled in her stomach, but she convinced herself it was nothing. Still, she avoided eye contact with the vehicle as she passed and made a mental note to take a different route home. The wind picked up again as she moved deeper into the woods, and with it came the unmistakable sound of leaves crunching behind her. At first, she thought it was her imagination. Maybe it was an animal, but the sound matched her steps. When she stopped, it stopped. Her heart began to race. She turned quickly, scanning the path behind her. Nothing, just trees, leaves, and the fading light of day. She took a cautious step forward, then heard it again. A soft crack, like a branch breaking underfoot. Panic surged. She broke into a full sprint, her breath coming in sharp gasps, the trail blurring beneath her feet. She didn't know what was behind her, didn't want to look. Her only goal was to get back to the neighborhood. She ran until the trees began to thin, her legs burning, her lungs screaming for air. When she finally burst out onto the sidewalk near her home, there was no sign of anyone behind her. No man, no van, nothing. But she knew she had been followed, and she knew something had changed. Elmsworth wasn't safe anymore. The fear didn't end when Sarah reached the safety of her neighborhood. Her mind replayed the sounds, the footsteps in the leaves, the snap of the branch, details that refused to fade, no matter how many times she tried to convince herself it could have been nothing. Her parents, alarmed by her disheveled state and muddy clothes, contacted the local police immediately. An officer came to take her statement, and a small team was dispatched to search the trail. Flashlights swept through the forest, boots trampled over leaves, and dogs were brought in to track any scent, but nothing turned up. No man, no vehicle, no signs of a struggle. The only thing they found was Sarah's phone, lying face down in the mud, screen cracked and flickering. The officers gently suggested it might have been a misunderstanding. A hiker, maybe? Or a deer? Sarah nodded, but she didn't believe it. She had felt the presence. It wasn't just a trick of the mind. It was real. Her instincts had screamed danger, and she knew better than to ignore them. The police left with little more than a written report and reassurances to stay alert and avoid going into the woods alone. She was told someone would follow up, but no one did. Over the next few days, Sarah's routine completely changed. She stopped jogging. She avoided walking alone, even during the day. Her nights were restless, filled with half-formed nightmares of being chased. But the worst part was the nagging feeling that someone was still watching. Every time she passed a window, she checked over her shoulder. Every time a car slowed near her house, she froze. Her world, once quiet and familiar, now felt like a trap she hadn't noticed until it almost closed on her. Then came the moment that confirmed her fear. One evening, just before dusk, Sarah looked out from her bedroom window and saw something chilling: a white van parked 2 houses down, partially hidden behind a hedge. It wasn't moving. The engine was off. The driver couldn't be seen through the glare on the windshield. Her blood turned cold. She grabbed her phone, snapped a photo, and ran downstairs to show her parents. By the time her father stepped outside to confront the vehicle, it was gone. That single image was the only proof she had, and even it was grainy and distant. Still, she brought it to the police. They filed it but didn't seem overly concerned. "Could be a delivery van," they said. "Hard to tell anything from that angle." But Sarah wasn't convinced. It was the same van, same color, same size, and even the same dent she remembered near the back wheel. It was watching her. She could feel it. And yet, nothing more happened. No break-ins, no direct threats. Just the lingering presence of something or someone lurking on the edges of her life, like a shadow that only moved when she wasn't looking. Her sense of safety was gone. What scared her more than being chased that night was the thought that the person had not given up. He was still out there, waiting. Sarah had always been rational. She believed in facts, evidence, and logic. But the weeks that followed her near abduction pushed her into a world where those things offered no comfort. With the local police showing little interest and her family growing tired of her constant fear, she turned to the only place that seemed to offer answers: online forums. She searched for hours each night, scrolling through threads about stalkers, unsolved cases, and missing persons. It was there, buried among hundreds of similar stories, that she started to see a disturbing pattern. Posts from different towns described similar situations. Young women alone, followed near trails or quiet streets, a white van spotted nearby, a sense of being watched. Then nothing. In 3 different cases, the women had disappeared entirely. One had vanished walking her dog. Another went missing after leaving work late at night. A third had called a friend in panic saying she was being followed before her phone went dead. The police in those towns treated each case separately, but Sarah saw the connections. The locations were all within a 100-mile radius. The descriptions matched. And the van was always there, in the background, silent and untraceable. She made a map and pinned each location, drawing lines between them. Her town was almost at the center. It wasn't proof, but it was a pattern too sharp to ignore. She contacted one of the women who had posted online about being followed, a college student named Tessa from a town 2 hours away. Tessa had managed to avoid being taken by locking herself in her car when she noticed a man approaching her in a dark hoodie. She had also seen a white van idling in the distance. The police in her town had dismissed it too. Sarah began compiling every detail she could find: license plate numbers, sightings, timelines, news clippings, screenshots of forum posts. Her bedroom wall became a makeshift investigation center, covered in printouts and red strings connecting photos and articles. She sent everything to her local police department, requesting a meeting. But the detective assigned to her case didn't seem impressed. He told her it was unlikely to be connected, that people online liked to create fear where none existed. Sarah left the station more frustrated than ever. Still, something kept driving her. She couldn't let it go. Late one night, she refreshed a thread she had bookmarked and saw a new comment from someone claiming to have seen the white van again, this time parked outside a gym in a town about 30 minutes away. The poster had snapped a picture. When Sarah opened it, her breath caught. The van had the same dent near the back wheel, the same tinted windows, the same eerie, idle presence. She felt both terrified and validated. The van wasn't random. It was moving, watching, choosing. And now, more than ever, Sarah knew this wasn't over. She hadn't been a random target. She had been picked, and whoever had picked her hadn't stopped looking. Sarah knew that waiting for someone else to act wouldn't save her. The police had shrugged off her evidence. Her family had started encouraging her to let it go, and her friends had grown distant, unsure how to handle her intensity. But Sarah couldn't walk away from the truth. She had been followed, nearly abducted, and the same van had been seen near multiple women who later disappeared. Something was happening, and no one seemed to be stopping it. So she decided to set a trap. She returned to the trail where it had all begun, but this time, she wasn't running for exercise. She wore a jacket with a hidden body camera clipped inside, one that recorded high-resolution footage and transmitted live to a secure cloud account she'd set up. Her phone location was shared with two people, Tessa from the forum and a classmate she trusted. Every day for a week, she walked the same route at the same time. Each time, her heart pounded with the fear that she might be making herself a target again. But she had to take the risk. It was the only way to lure whoever had been hunting her. The first few days passed without incident. Sarah walked the trail, alert and cautious, but no van appeared. She began to wonder if he had moved on, chosen someone else, or sensed her plan. On the fifth day, she nearly stayed home. But something pushed her to go one more time. That evening, as she reached the same bend in the trail where she'd first noticed the van, she felt it again, that heavy, pressing sensation in her chest, like someone was watching. She slowed her pace and scanned the tree line. At first, there was nothing. Then she saw it. Just beyond the trees, parked off the side of a service road, mostly hidden behind a rusted billboard, was the white van. Her breath caught. It hadn't moved. It was waiting. Sarah quickly snapped a few photos and texted them to the detective who had last handled her case. Then she walked calmly down the trail, pretending not to notice, while her heart thundered in her chest. She reached the road, made a sharp turn onto the sidewalk, and ducked into a nearby coffee shop to wait. She didn't go home. Police arrived within 20 minutes. The van was still there, but no one was inside. It was locked, the engine cold. However, when officers searched the area, they made a discovery that changed everything. A small camera was strapped to a tree, aimed directly at the trail. It was camouflaged and triggered by motion. Investigators took it in as evidence. Later that night, they reviewed the footage and found hours of recordings, dozens of women jogging, walking dogs, and passing by. In some clips, a figure could be seen standing in the brush just out of sight. He hadn't been following randomly. He had been studying his victims, watching, waiting for the perfect moment. And now, thanks to Sarah's persistence, the hunt was about to turn around. 2 weeks after the hidden camera was found, a break in the case came from somewhere entirely unexpected. In a small town 60 miles from Elmsworth, a homeowner reported a suspicious man trespassing on his property late at night. The man had tried to pry open a back window but fled when the homeowner triggered the alarm. A responding officer spotted a truck leaving the area at high speed and pursued it. After a brief chase, the driver pulled over and was arrested. His name was Mark Langley, a 38-year-old former private security contractor with no prior criminal record. Inside his truck, police found a duffel bag containing gloves, a ski mask, a taser, and zip ties. But what caught the detectives' attention was the collection of hard drives and memory cards stashed in a locked case under the seat. The contents were chilling. Dozens of videos showed footage from hidden cameras placed in wooded trails, gym parking lots, and suburban streets. It was methodical, organized by date and location. Faces were labeled. Some of the clips had names written over them. Sarah Mitchell's name appeared on 3 of them. The white van was traced back to a storage facility registered under a shell company that Langley had created using false documents. When the van was found and searched, police discovered more surveillance equipment and personal belongings believed to belong to multiple victims. One of the recovered items was Sarah's cracked phone, which had vanished in the woods the night she was chased. Authorities connected Langley to a series of attempted abductions across 5 counties. In several cases, he had narrowly avoided capture by fleeing minutes before officers arrived. He had been living off-grid, traveling between towns in his van and occasionally renting short-term cabins or staying in his truck. His movements were calculated, his targets chosen after weeks of observation. It was clear this wasn't not the first time he had done this, and likely wouldn't it have been the last. Sarah was called into the station to identify some of the recovered belongings. Seeing her phone again, along with video stills of herself jogging the trail, sent a wave of nausea through her. But there was also relief. Her instincts had been right all along. The man who had followed her, hunted her, had finally been caught. Langley eventually confessed to the charges against him, multiple counts of attempted kidnapping, stalking, and unlawful surveillance. He refused to speak about the missing women whose cases Sarah had found online. But authorities suspected he was connected, even if they couldn't prove it. Yet. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with no possibility of early release. Sarah left Elmsworth not long after the trial, choosing to attend college far from home, but she carried with her more than just trauma. She carried the knowledge that she had turned fear into action, and action into justice. Her bravery didn't just protect herself, it may have saved countless others from disappearing into the silence.